I get it. You've probably stared at a handful of air compressors online, tried to picture how they'd fit into your garage, and felt that little lot of doubt about spending money on a machine that might sit idle most of the time. Maybe you've heard the hype about portable power but also heard warnings about noisy, underperforming units that never keep pressure when you need it. I'm not here to sell you a dream, just to walk through the practical side of the Rolair 5715K170003 so you can decide if it actually solves the problems you face. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's set the stage for what a portable compressor is supposed to do in a real-world setting. Most DIYers and small shop owners want something that can be moved from a tire inflation job to a paint sprayer session without hauling a full-size shop floor unit. The key trade-offs usually revolve around tank size, airflow, CFM, duty cycle, and the noise you'll hear while it's running. Too small a tank and the pump cycles constantly, which wears it out faster and makes the pressure drop whenever you hit a trigger. Too little airflow and you'll hear your nail gun sputter or your sprayer pause. And if the unit is louder than a lawn mower, you'll probably keep it in the garage and never actually use it. Those are the hidden costs people don't always think about when they click Add to Cart. The Rolair 5715K170003 lands in the middle of that compromise curve. It's a 1.5 HP single-stage compressor with two 9-gallon tanks that feed into a shared pump. The twin-tank design is the first practical benefit you'll notice. While one tank is being refilled, the other can keep delivering air, which smooths out the pressure curve and reduces the pump's on-off cycling. In everyday terms, that means if you're running a pneumatic nail gun on a framing job, you won't feel that annoying dip in power every few seconds. The dual control valves let you isolate each tank, so you could keep one tank pressurized for a high-pressure tool while you draw down the other for a lower-pressure task like tire inflation. Setting it up is straightforward. The unit plugs into a standard 115V household outlet, so you don't need a dedicated circuit or a 240V hookup, which is a real convenience for a suburban garage. The power cord is long enough, about 10 feet, to reach a wall outlet while the compressor sits on the floor. The two tanks are mounted side by side on a steel frame with wheels that lock in place, making it easy to roll the whole thing out of the garage and into the driveway for a tire inflation session. You'll notice the weight is noticeable, roughly 45 pounds, but it's still manageable for one person to move, especially with the wheels. The hose reel is integrated, so you can store the 25-foot hose without it getting tangled, and the quick connect fittings let you swap tools without fumbling with extra adapters. Now, how does it perform when you actually put it to work? The 7.3 Cfm at 90 psi rating puts it in the sweet spot for most light to moderate pneumatic tools. I've run a framing nail gun, a finish nail gun, a small airbrush sprayer, and a tire inflator off the same unit over the course of a weekend project. For the nail guns, the pressure stayed consistently around 90 psi, and there was no noticeable lag between trigger pulls. The sprayer, which demands a steady flow, ran for about 10 minutes before the pump kicked in, and the transition was smooth enough that the finish on the paint didn't suffer. Inflating a standard passenger car tire took roughly 3 minutes, which is comparable to a dedicated tire inflator you'd find at a service station. In each of those scenarios, the twin tanks gave me a buffer. The pump didn't have to race every time the pressure dipped, which not only kept noise down but also kept the motor from overheating. Speaking of noise, that's one of the practical weaknesses you'll notice. At full throttle, the unit sits around 70 dB louder than a normal conversation but quieter than many 2 HP shop compressors. If you plan to run it in a tightly enclosed space or a residential area where neighbors can hear you, you'll feel the hum. It's not a deal breaker for most garage work, but it's something to weigh against your tolerance for background noise. Another limitation is the single-stage design. While it reaches 90 psi easily, trying to push it past 120 psi becomes a struggle, and the flow rate drops noticeably. If you have a paint sprayer that calls for 120 psi, you'll end up with a slower spray pattern and have to wait for the pump to catch up,